start with a little bit of basic, just to give you the basic around it, so that we can understand better. Because sometimes the reason why it's difficult is because we don't understand the basic first, ne?
Okay, no problem.
So you don't have my notes, ne?
Unfortunately not, sir.
I'll send you. Thereafter, I'm gonna send you my notes that I used before that I'm currently using. Okay, so I think they've been helpful to many students, and I'll send you so that you can, at your own time, you can refer to the notes. Okay.
Okay. So do you think maybe by next week when I'm writing, I'll be ready?
Yes, you'll be ready. I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. If I can give you this basic, you get them, and we start exercising. Remember, I'm not gonna take. I'm just gonna give you the skill. You know, I think the most important skill is for you to know to which book must you record. That's the first thing. Eh?
Okay.
And thereafter, you must know how to use the columns, because the most challenge, yes, some students do know that they have to go to a certain book, but they don't know how to use the columns. They just use guesswork. You know what I mean?
Okay. Understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so let me quickly talk about, I'm just going to talk about all the journals quickly so that I cannot waste time. So all these journals, I'm still writing here, it will appear. Subsidiary, we call them subsidiary journals. All of them are called subsidiary journals. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the first journal is called CBR. Do you know what is CBR? What does it stand for?
Cashbook receipt.
Yes,
Cashbook receipt.
yes. Have you done accounting before, before tertiary?
No, first time doing it this year, sir.
It's okay. I don't have to tell you that it was called this before. No, I think it will only make sense. Yeah, I don't have to. So this is what I want you to know. So the first one, we call it what? We call it the cash book receipt. Ne? As you said, ne? We only record cash received. That is something that you need to check. Anything that, any cash you receive. So if you don't receive cash, do not come here. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
That's the first thing. I'm just gonna put them here so that number 2, we've got CBP, which is the opposite,
CPT.
which is
Cash
only, we
term
only record
receipts.
cash paid. Okay, we only record
Oh,
cash paid. Can you see that one? Meaning, if the cash is not paid, you cannot come here. Okay,
okay.
are you okay so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So number 3 is going to be petty cash journal. We only record again only cash paid. Let me just do this. Still writing it, it will appear cash paid, but only for small items. So this one is very easy. They will tell you, can you see the, if they pay out of petty cash, what I like about this one, if you have to use petty cash, they will have to tell you that you paid out of petty cash. So this one is very simple, because if you are not careful, you will confuse the two, because both, as you can check here, CBR and PCJ, we all record cash paid. But the only difference with the petty cash journal is only for small items. That's why when you have to use the petty cash journal, they will tell you that you paid out of petty cash. But if they don't tell you that you paid out of petty cash, it means you're going to use the CBP. Do you understand what I'm saying at the moment?
Yes, sir.
No problem. Um, okay, all this,
Oh, wait, so can I ask something?
yes.
You see, for CBP, CBP.
Yes.
So it's when we make a payment to someone else, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Both PCJ and CBP. So it means we as the business, we are paying cash out.
Oh, okay.
It is the complete opposite of number one.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So all these transactions are called. That's why our section there, you see our top, if you can check the chapter, the unit that we are learning, unit number 5 is called what? Cash transaction, because it's all about cash. Sometimes we receive cash, sometimes we pay cash. Do you understand the reason why we call it unit number 5 cash transaction?
Yes, sir. Number 4. Yes.
It's number 4, sorry, yeah, number 4.
Yeah, I understand, sir.
Okay, now let's go, because I just want to talk about all of them at the same time. So that the next journal is going to be called DJ. What does DJ stands for?
DJ.
DJ,
Digital
yes.
Journal.
No, the DJ.
Debtors Journal. DJ.
DJ, ne? Not
Debtors
GJ.
Journal.
Debtors journal. Okay, yes, I'm still writing something here. We only record only sales. Sorry, I'm still writing. It will come only sales of goods. So this one we need to be careful when it comes to this one. On credit. This one I want you to be careful. Can you see now? This one we only record sales of what? Of goods on credit.
Yes.
Can you see? I said only sales of goods, meaning if you don't sell goods on credit, you cannot come to the DJ. Do you understand this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you don't sell goods on credit, you won't come to the sale. So let's say, for example, I sell my house on credit. I cannot come to the DJ. So if I sell my car on credit, I cannot come to the DJ. But the minute I sell goods, remember, goods are the same as merchandise. Sometimes they say merchandise, sometimes they say trading stock, sometimes they say trading inventory is one and the same thing. So the minute I sell them on credit, I come to the DJ.
Okay.
We good?
Yes, sir.
What now we have got the other book called DAJ. If I may ask, what is DAJ? What
DAJ.
does it stand for? Huh?
Yeah, I don't know, sir. I don't know.
Debtors Allowances Journal. Yes, I'm still writing it for you here. Can you see when it comes to this one? Is when we, can you see? Like what, remember on top there, if you remember very well, on top here, I said here we only record goods sold on credit. So these goods, remember, they are sold to our debtors. Ne? So sometimes debtors return these goods which you sold here. So that's why now we come to the debtors allowances. So the minute you see the word A, the letter A here, this means allowances. You must think about the returns. So allowances, it means we allowed our debtors to return goods back to us. Does this make sense? It's just the opposite of this. We sell here, they return here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. We have got number 6, which is called CJ. If I may ask you, what does CJ stand for?
Creditors Journal.
Creditors Journal, yes. Here is where we record all items bought on credit. Now, so this is just the complete opposite of number 4. Remember number 4? We are selling here on credit. But number 4, be careful. We only record when we sell goods on credit. But the CJ, it doesn't matter. Anything that you buy on credit, remember here we're buying. Anything that we buy on credit, we record under CJ.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it is not like DJ, because DJ is very selective. It only says goods. But under CJ, we don't only buy goods. We buy everything that we buy on credit. Even if you can go and buy your car, you buy your bicycle, you buy a building, anything that you buy on credit will come to the CJ. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
No problem. So if I may ask you, so just to challenge you a bit, because now under number 6, I bought goods on credit. So when I return those goods on credit, which one do you think will be the journal that I'm going to use?
CJ, no. When you're returning it,
Yes. Can use number 4 and number 5 as, come again?
CAJ.
CAJ, you are correct. Returns of goods. Or not goods, not only goods, returns of items, all of them. Bought on credit. You see now, this is we just have to be careful. That's why I'm saying in the exam, can you see they give you a mixture of transactions. You need to know where to go.
Okay.
Are we good? The last
So
journal. Yes, you can.
So you see for chapter 4.
Yes.
You see for chapter 4. So basically, when we in the exam, they're gonna combine everything. They're not gonna like separate it into chapter 3 or
No.
chapter 4 or chapter 5 like that. They're just gonna
No, they are not going to separate. They just ask, they can, for example, they can give you some transactions, ne? And they can say open CBR, and they say also open DAJ. They can choose anything out of this.
Okay. So
The same applies to the test that you're going to write.
Okay.
Can you see now? They can choose anything out of this. Anything. They randomly choose anything.
Okay.
Yeah, the last one. What do you think is the last one that is missing that you are used to see before?
General journal.
Yes, you are correct. The general journal is the last one. Here we only record transactions which cannot be recorded in the other journals. You see now, so this one, as long as you know that it cannot go under one of those journals from 1 to 7, just know that, like it or not, the only option will be what? GJ. But on my notes, when I send you my notes, you will see I try to give some examples of transactions that must go to what? That must go to GJ. Can you see what kind of transactions go to DJ, CBR? So I try to give you that. But here I'm just saying, as a technique, as long as something cannot, because it is easy to know whether something comes from to this 1 to 7, but sometimes you struggle, and then you know that the transaction that is given to you cannot be recorded. in one of these journals up to 7. The only option is to go and record under GJ. Okay. Yes. So from 4 to 8, all these journals are under unit number 5, sorry.
4 to, oh, okay.
4 to 8. Are you okay? So this is something that you need to understand because it's very useful. So if you've got any question, just ask so that so that I can know that it makes a bit of sense.
And I understand so far.
Okay, no problem. So you must always bear in mind, hopefully you wrote them down, or maybe you took a screenshot so that you can keep referring.
I'll just take a screenshot, but I've written them down already.
No problem, no problem. Yep. Let me just go through an exercise so that I can show you how it looks like. So I'm just still just finding the exercise. Yeah, this hopefully you can see still loading. Let me know if you can see it after loading.
Yes, I
Can you
see.
Yes, that's how they will normally give you the information. I think you are familiar with this. They normally give you a paragraph of which you need to analyze before you can continue with an exercise. Okay. So I want us to analyze this quickly. Firstly, again, the most important thing is for us to know our business. So obviously they say the owner is Samuel. It's important for us to know that the owner is Samuel. Is the owner of Fatherboard Electronics. And then we are trading in computers and related goods. So we are selling good computer related items. It's important for you to know your business. Why do you have to know your business? Is because you need to know when you are going to say you are selling trading stock or not. Are you still with me, Katlego?
Okay. Yes, sir.
No problem. But now we need to, apart from the name, we need to highlight the most important things for us to be able to understand. Firstly, we need to highlight the fact that we are VAT vendors. The minute we say we are VAT vendors, that's why we will charge. This is important. We will charge 15%. Can you see now? We are charging 15%. It means we are VAT vendors. So we must know that by the time when we transact, we must not forget the tax implications. The first thing that we need to check. And after checking that VAT, we must always check this statement. This statement is very much important. All the amounts include VAT unless stated otherwise or unless VAT is not applicable. It means if they give you the amount and they don't tell you that VAT is included or not, just know that VAT is included. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Will they always tell
Yes.
you when VAT is included, or is it something that you have to know? Because I know also there was the whole timetable, or what is it? There's a section where they teach you which stuff is uh, where you add VAT and which things like bread and electricity and stuff like that.
Yeah, so those ones are separate classification. I think you're talking about the classification of VAT items. But here, yes, they normally give you this statement because if they cannot give you this statement, it means by the time when you go to the transactions, they must tell you whether the amount is including VAT or not. That one is simple because when they will give you 5,000, they tell you that this amount is including VAT and this amount is excluding VAT. But If they don't do that, they normally give you this statement, meaning this one can be a challenge to you, because what they are saying is when you see an amount and they don't tell you whether the amount is including VAT or not, just know that the amount is including VAT. As long as you know that you need to calculate VAT for that particular item. But if the amount is excluding VAT, they have to tell you that the amount is excluding VAT. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yes. So this it means they are trying to save time. That's why they just give you one statement. So this one can be a little bit tricky because sometimes you don't know whether something I have to calculate VAT or not. Okay, but they're saying if you know for sure that you must calculate VAT, just know that VAT is already included if they don't tell you that VAT is not included. Otherwise, they will tell you that VAT is included is excluded. Okay,
Okay.
no problem. The other thing that is important is the system of inventory, because this will affect your calculation. We are using what? Perpetual inventory system. So make sure that you know which system to use. Remember, it can either be perpetual or periodic.
Yes, sir.
Can you see now? That's why they give you this, because the perpetual always go with the markup. That's why they give you the markup, because we are using perpetual. Can you see now? So you need to check whether you are using perpetual or periodic, because the minute they say perpetual, it means in most cases they will give you the percentage of the markup to calculate cost of sales. And again, you must know how to calculate cost of sales. So you need to know how to calculate cost of sales, because the way to calculate can differ. As you can see here, the markup is what? Is 25% on cost. Next time they will say the markup is 25% on selling price. Can you see now? So you need to know how to analyze the markup, of which is a separate section that you need to know. I don't know, how did you learn the markups? Did you learn them according to the fractions, or did you learn them according to the decimals? Do you calculate by saying 1.25, or do you say 100 over 125? How did you learn them?
I used the 1,25.
The one for?
1,25.
Or you learned it that way. As long as it makes sense, no problem. Because for my students, I was using the different one where I say, which is the same thing, because 1.25 is the same as 100 over 125. So it doesn't matter which method do you use, okay? As long as you use it correctly, okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, these are the most important things that you need to do before you can go and record or analyze the information. Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
No problem. The notes that I'm going to send you are going to have this question, okay?
Okay, sir.
No problem. So as you can see here, we have got the transactions here, and it is important. They say we are dealing with the month of what? Of January. We are dealing with the month of January. So it means at the end of the day, these dates are for January, but that doesn't matter. So now the challenge is, yes, I know that I'm going to focus on the CBR and the CBP, okay? But sometimes they will give you the transactions which must not even be recorded in this book. So it is important for you to know which transactions will go to a particular book, because remember, there are about 8 of them. So meaning the transactions which you see on these slides can either go to one of those 8 subsidiary journals. Are we together? So
Yes, sir.
the responsibility is to identify first. So I'm going to try and identify before we can continue. Okay, now let's check the one on the second here. They say we purchased goods from digital suppliers. Remember, this is our business, and paid 165 by check. Where do you think we are going to record the one on the second here? Which book out of those 8?
Mm, Cashbook payment.
You are
CP.
correct. So you're just going to say cash. Let me just change the color quickly. Just gonna say CBP. Remember, you are writing an exam. You just have to do that quickly. Okay. No problem. What about the fourth? Where do you think we're gonna record the fourth?
Cashbook receipts, CBR.
You are correct. Cashbook receipts. Yes, that is the first skill you need. Okay. Yes, this is gonna be. Just shift it a bit. Yes. And what about the one on the 7th?
Cashbook payment, CBP.
You are correct. Yes. You see now? This will help us a lot. Thank you so much for that. What about the one on the 14th? We've got about 3 of them. Let's start with the first one on the 14th. What do you think we're going to record?
I think it's CBP.
You are correct. CBP. What about the next one? Still on the 14th?
CBR.
Perfect. What about the third one on the 14th?
CBP.
CBP. Perfect. What about the 23rd?
Cashbook receipt.
Perfect. CBR. What about the 25th?
Is it GJ?
Check. You received bank statement and you see stop order for 570 for the insurance. You are paying. Remember, bank statement only deals with cash.
Okay.
The fact is, when you are looking at the bank statement, you are looking at cash, but that cash can either be cash out or cash in. What do you think we are doing here? Are we receiving cash or are we paying cash?
It seems like I'm not sure. I think we're paying, so.
Because it's insurance premium. Can you see? We are paying. It's gonna be CBP. Can you see now?
Okay. Can I just see something? So when it says received a bank statement is not a form of money, though.
No, a bank statement, remember, it's just a source document where we seize the transactions. Ne? But
Okay.
those transactions obviously are cash. On the bank statement, you cannot see anything that is credit. It's only cash. You know that?
Yes, sir.
But when I'm looking at that bank statement, I see a stop order. What is a stop order? Do you receive stop order or are you using stop order to pay?
I don't know what that is. So.
Stop order is like, for example, you go to the bank and you tell them that they must pay a particular person for, let's say, for 6 months.
Also, it's like a debit.
It's like a debit, just that the difference between debit order and the stop order, debit order, ne, it can take forever if you don't stop it. But stop order is similar to the debit order because they are both payments, but the stop order is like you tell the bank to pay that person for a particular period, and after that period, the bank will stop paying him. Does that make sense?
Okay. Because when they
But they've
said
got the same
stop
function,
order,
obviously.
I thought they were just saying like you received something which is telling you to stop paying. So I didn't understand.
No.
Okay.
It's like think like debit order.
Okay, I understand, sir. Now I get it now.
Okay. What about the 31st?
CBP.
CBP. So that's the first thing that you need to do, because now obviously you'll know where to go. Can you see now? But next time you're gonna find other channels. Next time you'll see yourself doing DJ, GJ, things like that. So, but you need to do this first. This will help you a lot.
Okay.
Yes, that's the first step. And thereafter, because for this exercise, like I said, let me go to the next slide. You'll see I only have to deal with what? With the cash book receipts and the cash book payments. Can you see now? And again, there is another information there that I'm going to read. So, but we know that we're going to deal with the cash book receipts and the cash book payments. Okay. Now, if you check here under additional information, they say, remember, this is our business father board electronic. They say we only bank on the 14th and the 23rd. So meaning we can only go to the bank on the 14th and the 23rd. So we need to be careful because this will affect the way we transfer our transactions. Okay. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. So meaning now, because we cannot deal with everything at the same time, so we need to only focus on the CBR. So wherever I see CBR, CBR, CBR is what I'm going to record now. Because the most important thing here, I just want to show you how to use these columns. Because yes, you can be able to identify, you can be able to know to which journal must you go and record. But sometimes when you go there, it is very difficult for you to know how to use the columns. Are we together? So what I normally do, let's say for example, this is the format that I have for the cash book receipts. Can you see now? I need to know, firstly, which one is the main column. If I can ask you, which column do you think is the main column for all the columns? For the
What do you
amounts.
mean mail? Sorry, sir.
Meaning that the column where at the end of the day, the amounts will go to that column. All the amounts will go to all that column.
Isn't it amount?
No, let me tell you for the future. So the main column here will be bank, because in the bank is where we record all the cash that we're going to receive. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to write main just for my calculation, so that can you see I just wrote main there. So that is my main column. Can you see now? And again, my main column is where I need the figures which must come here must always include VAT. If the VAT is applicable. Okay, let me just, so meaning, let me just write it quickly. It must include, the main column must always include, let me just shift it. Yeah, so this is what I normally do before I write exam. So when they give me an amount including VAT, I know automatically that amount will come to the bank. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
It means this is the only column where I need to include VAT. So meaning the other columns there, which you see on the right here, if I have to come and record in those other columns, all the other columns will exclude VAT. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
We only include VAT in the main column. That's why for every journal, you must ask yourself, which column is the main column? Why must I know that? Is because the main column is where I will record the amounts including VAT. I want you to get that. Because in the exam, they'll keep giving you the amount including VAT, amount excluding VAT. I want you to know where to go and record the amount including VAT. We only record the amount including VAT in the main column. That's why it is important to know which column is the main column. I hope you got my point.
Yes, sir. I got your point.
No problem. Now, let's go back to the transition because I want us to look at the first transaction that says CBR. As you can see, the first transaction that says CBR is the one on the 4th. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
I want you to know this amount. We sold merchandise for 242,820. I want you to know this amount. Even if you can write it down, it's okay. Or if you can take the screenshot of this question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you still with me?
Yes, sir, I'm with you.
Let me ask you a question. Is this amount of 242 including VAT or excluding VAT?
It's including that, sir.
It's
But
including
not on
VAT.
our end, right?
Huh?
What I mean is we can't charge VAT. What is it called? Is it input VAT?
Well, that VAT is called output VAT
Oh, that one is called output. Is it
because you are the
output
one
VAT?
who's selling, remember?
Oh, cash sales. Oh, I thought this was a thingy. Bought merchandise. I thought we bought
No, no, no.
merchandise.
Remember, we're only focusing on the CBR
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I see.
because we cannot deal with them
Output.
at the same time. Unless if you want us to start with CBP
No, no, no. It's fine.
or you want us to do all of them at the same time.
Yes, we can start with the way you were doing it, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's just focus on the CBR for now and thereafter CBP. So if you check there, the CBR, we know, and I'm happy that you told me that this amount is including what? VAT.
VAT.
And I think when we go and record this amount, already we know under which column will I record this 24820. Where do you think I'm going to record this 24820? I'm going to go to the book so that you can tell me. Where do you think I must record that? Obviously, I think I know already where to record it. Where will I record
Bank.
it? By the bank. I know already in the bank I will have something there. Okay? So firstly, I'm going to put the date. I don't have the source documents today. I just wanted to make it easier. The date will be the 4th. This is how I'm going to write it. Okay, that's the first thing. What do you think I must record under details?
Cost of sales.
Huh?
Is it cost of sales, sir?
No, it can't be cost of sales. It's either you write sales or cash sales. I prefer cash sales. Okay?
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
cash
sorry, sir.
sales or sales. So don't write cash only. They won't give you a mark. It's either you write cash sales or you only write sales only. It's up to you. But I prefer to write cash sales.
Okay.
Okay. Now, don't worry about this folio. This folio column is not this useful now. You'll see. We don't normally use this one under the CBR. You will use it when you do your accounting 1B. You'll see. But now there's a column. If I may ask you, have you seen this column before called analysis of receipts?
No, sir.
Okay, let me tell you something. What is the function of the analysis of receipts? For example, the analysis of receipts is like before you go to the bank, you must come to the analysis of receipts. But why? So this means that let's say on the 4th, we have got about 3 transactions. It means I cannot go to the bank on a one by one. So it means those transactions which took place on the 4th, let's say there are 3 of them, I must record them under analysis one by one. Only after the 3rd one, I will add them together before I go to the bank. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes, yes, it does, sir.
Yes. But for our transaction, remember, even here, we need to be careful here. They said we can only go, remember when we checked here, they are forcing us here. They say we can only go to the bank on the 14th and the 23rd. Meaning if the date is not the 14th, I cannot go to the bank. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
But if they did not give me this statement, I was supposed to go to the bank. Why? Because if I go back, we only have one transaction on the 4th. It means we were supposed to go to the bank on that day. But I cannot go to the bank on that day. I must wait until when? The 14th. Does that mean it makes sense?
Yes, sir.
So when I go back to the format, you will see there. Yes, I'm going to record here, but I must first come to the analysis and record under analysis. I'm going to write that amount of 242. I think you still remember this amount, 820. Let me just, so I'm just going to squeeze everything here so that it can make sense. This is the amount. Let me make it smaller. No, let me just try to fit it. I think you can see it. So I think my figures are too big. Can you see my what I wrote there on there? Can you see that? Remember, I was supposed to go to the bank, but I can't go to the bank. Why? Because they said I can only go to the bank on the 14th. So I must wait. I must wait for the 14th. Okay. But if I did not have that statement, I was supposed to transfer this 242,820 to the bank because it was only transaction on the 4th. No problem. Thereafter, remember we said cash sales. So it means we still have to come and record under sales. We still have to calculate what? Output VAT, because this amount is including VAT. And we still have to calculate cost of sales. But what I normally do with my students, I always tell them to start with VAT, but it doesn't matter, you can start with sales. So which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with VAT or do you want to start with sales?
We can start with VAT, sir.
Okay, how do we calculate VAT on this amount?
We say this amount times 15%.
We can't say 15%, remember, is either, when you calculate VAT, is either you use 15% like that, because when you say 15% is the same as 15 over 100. Let me write something down for you. So you will use 15%. Remember, 15% is 15 over 100 if the amount given to you exclude VAT. But if the amount given to you include VAT, you must use 15 over 115. So you need to be careful before, because if you say 15%, automatically it becomes 15 over 100. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you need to be careful here. So the amount that we have here is 242,820, and we agreed that it includes VAT. So which one do you think we're going to use? Are we going to use 15%, which is 15 over 100, or are we going to use 15 over 105?
The second one, 15 over 105, because it includes VAT.
So what is the 15 over 105 of 242? Do you have a calculator with you?
Yes, sir. So it's 242,820. Then I say times 15%
Multiply it by
divided by
15 over 115.
Okay, I got 31,672,17.
7. Okay, let me see. Just trying to minimize this. I think it's too big for me. Do this 12, maybe it will fit. Okay, I made it a little bit smaller. Can you still see that one? That VAT, is it visible?
Yes, sir. So whenever I do the VAT, sir, I always have to say
Okay.
15 over 115.
If the amount that you are using is including VAT, you must ask yourself a question first. Is the amount that I'm using including VAT or excluding VAT? Because if the amount was excluding VAT, you were supposed to use which one? 15 over 100, which is 15%.
So if it was not including VAT, I would just say times 15%.
Yeah, remember 15% is the same as 15 over 100.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so you must be careful. And remember, if this 242 was not including VAT, you wouldn't put it under this analysis, because if you put it under analysis, it means it's the one that you're going to put under bank. You were supposed to put it under sales,
Oh, okay.
because sales is where we're going to exclude VAT, okay? Yes, now the difference between this amount of 242 and VAT will give you the amount for sales. How much will be your sales? Just say that amount that you got, just minus 242.
This amount, the VAT amount.
Yeah, 316 minus 242.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm just want to avoid you canceling the amount and writing it again. Even though you get a negative, it's still going to be the correct one.
It gives me 211,147,83 cents when we're rounding off the last cent. Do we round off the last cent right now, or do we just leave it until the end?
No, you must round it now. As long as you put it there, can you see now the way you gave it to me is correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So can you see, I want you to look at this, because this is where the trick comes. That's why most students are surprised. Why am I not getting it correct? Is because we're not careful. So it doesn't matter which one you find between VAT and sales. It doesn't matter. If you find one of them, the difference will give you the other one. Or even if you set 242,820 and you divide by 1.15, you would get sales first of this amount. And thereafter, the difference will give you the VAT. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is very much important. Now, after doing this, I prefer you to go and calculate cost of sales. Because the cost of sales must be based on what? On the sales. Can you see now I know my sales? Is then that I can calculate cost of sales. Why do I want you to calculate cost of sales only after finding sales? Is because you can make a mistake of taking this amount of 242 to calculate cost of sales. Remember, you can't use 242 because 242 is including VAT. You cannot calculate cost of sales on the amount including VAT. That's why I prefer you to first find sales. Why? Because sales, we record the amount which must exclude VAT. Okay, exclude VAT. So do you understand what I'm talking about here?
Yes, sir.
This is important. So you must always find sales first before you find cost of sales. And we know our markup was 25% on cost. So how are we going to calculate cost of sales on these sales? What do you think will be the way to calculate?
I would say, I think, I don't know if it's correct, sir. But don't
Now you
you
try.
say,
Remember, this we're trying.
yeah, don't you say 211,147,83 times 75%? That's your cost of sales.
No, that is when, can you see now? That is when your markup is on selling price. But in this case, the markup is not on selling price. You were correct only if, let me go back and show you. The markup here is on what? Check it.
Cost.
On cost. So this means that you cannot use 75. So it means if I have to analyze the markup for you, let me just analyze the markup for you quickly. The way I analyze, I don't know, how did you learn it in your class? So normally we have got the cost price. And then, okay, let me just, I'm still writing it for you. It will come. You must have the cost price. I'm just going to write it as CP. And then you must have the markup. I'm going to write it as MP, which is 25%. and I'm going to have the selling price. So you were supposed to analyze like this. Okay. Are you still with me here?
Okay, I see, sir.
That's how to analyze. So for you, I think you analyze the other way around because the markup, according to you, the markup is selling price. So that's why you use 75. So in this case, you're going to use 100 over what? 125. Does that make sense?
Kind of. So wait, let's say so I write 211,147,83, and then I say times.
Okay, I think according to you, I think you learned it as a decimal. Remember, okay, let me write it down the way I mean it so that you can understand what I'm talking about. For me, I said times 100 divided by 125. For you, I think you learned it as what? You're going to divide by 1.25. The same thing. You can either use 1.25 to divide, but in my case, I will multiply because I use the fraction instead of decimals. So if you're using this one that I used here, you're going to multiply. But if you're using this one of the decimal, you divide. So you choose which one is best for you. You can divide. You can take that 2 and 1 and you divide. It's okay.
So if they had said cost sale, I would have said times 75%.
If you
If they said markup of 25% on sale, I would have. That's when I use the 20 70 times 75%.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
But if they say on cost, you will use divide by 1.25. Are you okay? Yes. So you we can go back there and take this amount and just divide by 1.25 and you get the answer here.
Yes, it's 168,918,
Yes.
comma 26.
168.
168,918,
Yes.
comma 26.
Thank you so much. That's how to calculate cost of sales. Can you see now? That's the cost of sales amount is based on this one. Okay.
I see, sir.
No problem. Remember, we found all the relevant columns, but except bank, because we know we cannot go to the bank because we still have to wait for the 14th. Remember that one on the 14th?
Yes, sir.
So this is what I'm going to do now. Hopefully you can see my 14th. I reduced the font, so hopefully you can see that. That's the 14th. Let's go to the 14th and check what happened. Do we have any CBR on the 14th? Yes, this one.
Yes, sir.
Cash sales of 423,500, excluding VAT. So I hope you can note this. I can give you time to screenshot or write it down. Do you have the amount with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we are going to the format. So what do you think I must write under details?
50 sales.
Hmm?
Sales, cash sales.
Cash sales or sales? Okay, thank you so much. So that's the first thing that you must write, because obviously I'm selling goods, so I must say cash sales. So there's an amount there of 423,500. Where do you think I must record that?
Analysis of receipts.
Analysis of receipts. The question is, remember the amount that you put under analysis of receipts, it means it's the amount that must go to the bank. Remember?
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So, and we said the amount that must go to the bank must include VAT. The question is 423 including VAT or excluding VAT?
It's excluding.
So I can't come here, remember, because the minute I come here, it means the amount is including VAT. The minute I come here, it means I'm ready to go to the bank. So I can't go to the bank with the amount excluding VAT. So I cannot put that 423. Unless if that 423 was including VAT, yes, I'll come and put it under analysis. So where will I record that 423 now? Because it's excluding VAT.
By sales.
Thank you. Can you see now? The challenge is that. So you must always check that.
Okay.
I came here to the sales because that's why I say it's important. Maybe before you write, just write these things. These things, can you see I wrote excluding VAT for me here? This will give me an idea.
Yes.
Here I wrote including VAT. So I must know that when I come here is when the sales are excluding VAT. But if they were including VAT, this 423 was supposed to be seen under analysis.
Okay, I see.
Are we together? Now we can go and calculate VAT. How will we calculate VAT now?
Don't we just times 15%?
Yes, because the amount is excluding.
VAT.
Please, how much is it?
It's 63,525.
Just like that. Can you see now? So I want you to be careful. That's why I said I don't want you to memorize, understand why did I come here. Because it's not always the case. Can you see it's a little bit different from what I did on top?
Yes, sir.
How do you think I will find my analysis amount?
I think you add the VAT and the sales.
That's true. So you add them together and you give me that amount as your analysis. Easy like that.
Yes. So the answer will be, it will be 487,025.
How much?
487,025 rand.
And 25.
Yes.
Perfect. Just like that. Can you see now? I want you to get that. Don't forget it. You will never go wrong. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yes. Please ask a question if it doesn't make sense.
No, I understand everything so far, sir.
Let's calculate cost of sales. How do you think we're going to calculate cost of sales?
It's going to be the sales amount 423,000
Yes.
500 times divided by 1,25.
Yes.
The answer is 338,800.
800.
Yes, 338800.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Can you see now? Just like that. Now, the question is, can I go to the bank now?
Yes, you can, sir.
Okay, to show that I'm ready to go to the bank, I must come and underline here. Can you see? I just underlined. So if I underline here, it means I'm ready to go to the bank. But I know that when I go to the bank, I must add the 2 before I can put the amount here. So you must add 242 plus 487025 and you put it in the bank.
The answer is 729,845.
729845.
Yes, sir.
Now, so that is how to transfer to the bank. I should have transferred long time ago, one by one, but I had to wait because they told me that I had to wait until the 14th. But if there was no that statement, I was supposed to see 242 here under the bank. I was supposed to see 487 under the bank, one separately. But now I can't because I was forced by the circumstances. Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So let's go because I need to wait for another. I've got another student who I'm gonna help, but let's do the last one for
CBR.
the CBR, which is the CBP. You can try it on your own, and thereafter you can ask questions, and then or maybe next time when we meet, we can quickly do that. Then the next one, CBR, is on the 23rd. Can you see the 23rd there?
Yes, sir.
This one is 6270, and then I want you to know this one, and then we are going to record. So the answer, the 23rd, the tenant, and then 6270. Please note this amount for me.
Yes, sir.
Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's the 23rd. Let me just change the color. I forgot to change the color.
23rd.
Now, okay, what do you think will be the... No, you're not allowed to say rent there. Who gave you the rent?
Tenant.
Tenant. But if you're not, say, yeah, they said tenant, you just have to write tenant.
So
Or,
say rent there, sir.
no, if you say rent, they will penalize you. Ne? You're going to say rent somewhere. I'm going to show you how to do that. So here you must put the person from whom you received cash from. Ne?
Okay.
Next time they're going to give you the name of the tenant, but here it's just tenant. Just write tenant. And then how much is that amount? Do you think I can put that amount under analysis?
Yes, sir. You can.
Which is how much?
6270.
6270. Let me ask you, what are the reasons or reason for you to put it under analysis? What made you to make this decision?
You can't add VAT on rent.
You can't?
So, sir,
You said?
you can't add VAT on rent, and it's
No,
like
you can add VAT on rent. Rent is vettable because it's a business rent.
is it?
Yes.
What?
The business rent, you know, there's a difference between the residential accommodation and the business rent. This one is business rent. That's why the rent will be, this include VAT. That's why I put it here, including VAT. But even if it was not VATable, you were still supposed to put it here, even though the VAT was not applicable. It's okay. But the main reason why we came here is because the amount is including VAT.
Okay.
Now, please calculate VAT for me. I think you know which one to use between 15% and 15.115.
I use the one where it's including VAT, so it's
Yes.
6270 times 15 over 115,
Yes.
which is 817,83.
Thank you so much. You know, that's how to find the VAT. It's either use this one or this one. It's up to you. But as long as you know the amount is including VAT. Okay. So this rent thing is problem to many students because they know that there is not, but this is a business rent. I think you must write it down. But if it was residential accommodation, but I don't think they will trick you with the residential accommodation now. So you can only do that by the time when you do your second year. I think you are tax, if you're doing tax for second year and third year, is then that they're going to challenge you with the residential and everything. But the minute you see rent in your business, just know that it's going to be vettable. So now this next step, remember, we need to go and record the rent without VAT. Where do you think we're going to record that amount?
By sales.
Are we selling stock here? Remember, you only go to sales because we sold goods. Remember, on the 4th, we sold goods. On the 14th, we sold goods. So we only go to sales when we sell goods.
Oh, okay.
But what is this? What is this amount for?
Which one? Which amount, sir? The 627.
This amount that we received, we received for what? What is it for? For rent. So we need to go and record under rent. Do you see any rent column here?
No, sir.
So if we don't see the column for a particular account, which column are we going to use? Because we cannot ignore.
I'm assuming you put it under sundries or something.
You are correct. You must go to the sundry. Under details there, we just write rent received or rent income. I prefer rent income, or can write rent received. It's up to you. Can you see how do we record this kind of thing? So not everything goes to sales. We only go to sales. Write it down for future reference. We only go to sales if we sold goods. If you've got cash sales, if you see cash sales or if you see sales, just know that you sold goods. I repeat. When you see sales, just know that you sold goods. Is then that we're going to use the sales and the cost of sales. But other than that, you cannot go to sales.
Oh, okay.
So how much will be the amount for rent income?
6270.
No, remember, we only include VAT under the main column. So here, remember when I started here, I told you that the other columns must exclude VAT. So let me write exclude VAT here so that we must exclude VAT. Please write it down. You only include VAT under main column. I repeat, only include VAT under the main column. And you cannot have this 6270 twice. No. So how much will be the rent here?
It's 5452,17.
17. Thank you. So I want you to get this logic. Can you see now?
Yes,
and to double check yourself. So when you add these two, you must always get the amount that is going to go to the bank. So if you put 6270, can you see if you say 6270 plus 817, you didn't get 6270?
yes, sir.
Are we together?
Yes, sir.
So to double check yourself, always add whatever you recorded in the other columns and add them to check if you get the amount that you put under the analysis there. If you don't get it, something is wrong.
Okay, I understand.
Can I transfer to the bank?
Yes, you can.
I will underline to show that I'm ready to go to the bank. And then I'll transfer 6270 because that is the only transaction that I have there. Can you see how do we do that?
Okay, I see.
Yes. So, but practice, you know that it will help you a lot. It will help you a lot. So I'm telling you, even if they can give you 100 transactions, you follow the same process and you trust your process, I'm telling you, this is going to be simple.
So, sir, basically, what they're teaching me in the textbook, all the stuff that I had to read is what you just said.
Yes, in short. But the textbook is going around, you know that? Yes, that even if you can go to the textbook, they try to explain, but because the information looks too much, so sometimes you have lost in the process. But I try to summarize everything. I'm telling you, even if I can say go and open the other book, ne? Let's say DJ or CAJ, same procedure. You must know your main column. You must know the same thing is going to be dealt with. For me, the only challenging thing is the fact that here we have got cost of sales, because the CBR is challenging because there's got cost of sales, you have analysis. Other journals are very easy because they're only main column, there's no analysis, and everything is straightforward.
Okay, nice.
But the same procedure.
Okay, no problem.
Are you good?
Yes. So what
Yes.
time
No.
tomorrow are we gonna have our lesson?
We can do the same time if it's okay with you.
Okay, no problem. So when are we gonna have a face to face, sir? Next week or?
I can only be next week because now I know I'm not on